Welcome back everyone, I'm Jess, this is LARP 101 and today we're going to be talking about costuming on a budget. So, I am perpetually broke because despite the fact that I have a great job, I have debts, I have to run a household and I have a baby, which means I can only set aside so much money for LARP. So these are going to be my tips on how you can create a good LARP costume on a fixed budget. The genre of game that you're going to be playing is going to directly influence your outfit. Most people think of LARP and think of gowns and long flowing robes and swords and wizards, but that is not what every LARP you will ever encounter will be. Many LARPs are not fantasy genre, and that means you have a lot more options out there than just going out and finding whatever medieval dress you can find online. There's no point in going out and buying a gown or let's say a frock coat that costs you an arm and a leg if it's completely irrelevant to what you're actually going to be playing. So keep your setting in mind at all times. There's no reason for you to be going out and buying all these things if you've got something more appropriate. If you're playing in a LARP that's in a modern day setting, you might as well have a look to see what's in your own wardrobe first before you actually go out and buy other things. You may already have something suitable. Or if let's say you're going to go out into a post-apocalyptic LARP, maybe have a look to see what kind of things are going to be more appropriate for that. You might find something more appropriate in a military surplus store than you might do necessarily in your everyday high street. There's no point spending money on these things if you already have something that will work for you. So my favourite genre of LARP is always going to be fantasy for a variety of reasons. Fantasy clothing is generally going to be more expensive because you are in gowns and cloaks a lot of the time, but they don't have to be. When it comes time to shopping for your first costume, it is very tempting to latch onto the very first thing that you find. But do shop around because there are actually a lot more options out there. If you type LARP shop into Google, you're going to find hundreds of different responses all popping up. Most of them will be shops that are completely dedicated to costuming for LARP, and you're going to find some really cool things. But don't feel that you are limited to what comes up just under that search. So make sure to use your search terms properly. Have a look for instance, medieval clothing or reenactment clothing or things like that. Two of my favourite places to browse online are Amazon and Etsy. Etsy is really good for getting something a bit more unique because that's where a lot of people who do custom work tend to do advertise. However, custom work is almost always going to be more expensive, and that is because these are often small businesses who take a lot of time and energy into making these very unique things, and therefore that comes with a high price tag, as it should. If you do decide that you're going to stick with LARP as a hobby, I would always recommend ordering some custom stuff at some point, just because it does add something special to your costume that is unique from everyone else. But if you're just starting out and you're not too sure, maybe stay away from getting that beautiful custom ball gown of your dreams. Amazon is far more hit and miss. It is a wonderful place where items that are of great quality and good value for money can sit right next to items that are just not worth the price tag. So if you do find something that you like, always go and check the reviews before you pay. Ideally, the item should have at least 200 reviews, and it should have at least 4 stars. And always go and read the most negative reviews you can find, just to see how many of them are that low, and also to see why they are. So that way, if you get a dud, at least you know what you're looking for. I always tend to stick with suppliers that are fulfilled by Amazon themselves, because at least that way I know that it's not going to get lost in the post, as has many of the independent traders' items that I have ordered over the years. Don't be like me. If you have Prime, use it. Okay, so it might be a little bit weird for me to be saying this because good quality items are almost always going to be more expensive than lesser quality items, but hear me out. Yes, you want to save as much money as you possibly can, but do keep in mind that if you buy the cheapest option out there, you are going to be sacrificing the comfort, quality and overall look of your LARP costume. It's all well and good to say that you only spent £20 on your costume, but if you're standing out shivering in the rain in a poorly made crushed velvet dress, was it really worth saving that much extra money? Fancy dress costumes are great for Halloween, but the stuff they're made of is simply not designed to withstand a whole weekend of being out in the woods fighting monsters. I don't shop for LARP kits on places like Wish. Some people do, and that's absolutely fine, because Wish is obviously incredibly cheap. But more often than not, I find that when something comes from Wish, it just doesn't sit quite right. And at the end of the day, if I've paid, even if I've only paid a little bit of money, if I'm not going to use it, then it's not worth it. Amazon can also be a risky choice, but in my experience, if you stick to the stuff that can usually be shipped to you via Amazon Prime, at least you're going to have that guarantee by Amazon that if things go wrong, you can at least return it. Charity shops and thrift shops are a great place to find higher quality items for lower prices, but because you're not going to really know what stock is going to be available, you are going to have to be more flexible with what you think your LARP costume is going to look like. Another idea is to do a swap or buy your kit secondhand from other LARPers. When characters die, often people decide that they're not going to use that costume kit again, they're going to go for something new. And therefore they might actually be putting it up for sale or looking to swap it for something else. Social media is a great place for groups of people who are looking to swap LARP kits, so do have a look around to see if there is something in your area, because you might find exactly what you are looking for. Top tip, this is also really, really great if you have kids who LARP, because kids grow out of clothes so fast that often parents who have LARP kit for children are just willing to trade it off so that they can get something bigger for their kids later. Many LARPers are incredibly crafty, and they can take a strip of cloth and sew it into a magnificent gown using only their talent that they have honed over many, many years of effort and learning and all of those things that I wish I had, because I am not one of these LARPers. I have done maybe 2 sewing projects in my entire life at LARP. Neither went well. I tried sewing a purse at one point. It was a big mistake. Never mind. However, that doesn't mean that just because you are not so good at, let's say, sewing, that you shouldn't try and DIY other parts of your costume. For instance, dyeing is a really, really good way of getting exactly the costume you want. If you can find a piece of LARP kit that you think, oh, that would look amazing, but it's in white as opposed to the colour you want, you can buy dye pods on Amazon for very minimal cost that go into your washing machine with the item you want to dye, and it will do the work for you. This is a really good cost-effective way of making your costume a bit more unique. Just check that the item that you want to dye, first off, can be dyed, because you'll be surprised how much stuff can't. And do make sure you read the instructions carefully, because the last thing you want to do is dye the incorrect thing. Or worse, get dye all over your hands. The instructions are really simple, but they can be so easy to mess up, so do take care. Another way to DIY your costume is to make accessories. Thread and beads are really cheap to get hold of, and you can do lots of different creative things with them, as well as make other accessories for your costume. Using accessories is a really cheap and easy way to make a LARP costume truly unique, and in my next video I'm going to go through exactly how you can use accessories to take your costume from average to awesome. So please make sure that you do hit the subscribe button and hit that little notification bell so you don't miss my next video. I also would love to see any LARP costumes that you guys come up with, so please add me on Instagram and on Twitter, and then tag me in all of your wonderful LARP photos, because I want to see how amazing your costumes are. There are links to my Instagram and Twitter accounts in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the battlefield soon.